Hi friends. I've been struggling with fear lately, in particular the fear that is not having enough money. I realized, however, that every time I had a fearful thought about not having enough, I was literally stopping my good, actually impeding prosperity and abundance from flowing in my life. However, I was not aware of how to correct my negative thinking. This morning I got the answer in my meditation and my reading, and I'm reading Un Curso de Milagros. My answer, and yours perhaps, lies in the significance I give to the last judgment in the final days of humanity on the earth. I had always thought that humans would be judged by our good and bad and what we had brought into existence on this earth. This fearful thought had kept me bound to father fear, as opposed to being released from him and into the maternal arms of peace and light. The correction in my thought is this: I am a child of the Creator, which makes me a small creator who's learning to use my creative ability. Spirit has given me this world, the earth, and the paradigm on it to help me learn to be a creator. The goal? The Creator wants to help me create as it did when it saw the worlds and its creation and said, "This is good." God did not make negativity. This is important. God made a world of positivity and love. However, when its creations began to make negativity, there was a course created to help us learn the difference between the good we created and the negativity we create. This spectrum of good and negativity can be far-reaching, as I can see by what has manifested around me in my own world. But what is it in this world that is yours to correct or mine to correct? This is the significant idea. Can you stop the negativity in the world, or can you only stop the negativity in your own mind? If you can accomplish creating only good in your mind, can you then go on to help others learn to do the same thing? This is my clear revelation. Infinite Spirit, God, is waiting for its children to make the clear distinction between negative thoughts and positive ones. This is the final judgment. This is when we get to move on from the ephemeral world and live on in eternal peace. Here is my epiphany. There's no judgment of my brain thoughts, my deductive thoughts coming from God. God can't judge my brain thoughts because God isn't concerned in what goes on in my physical, personal brain. God's not dwelling in my human brain with me. God dwells in mind, which is the collective thoughts of good in the world. In spirit, God's concern is the outer manifestation or creations we make in each of our lives. Are we creating good from our thoughts, or are we manifesting a world of negativity, murder, lust, hate, greed, and all forms of prejudice and judgment? God only sees the results of my deductive brain and what ends up in my creative mind. This becomes my outward expression. And at the Creator's discretion, it's need to give more lessons or recognize I'm on the path to being a positive creator, as was intended at the beginning. Let me give you an example. A mother teaches her child to share by giving him or her a toy. However, the child decides to take his new toy and hide it from his sibling. He thinks in his mind that he can keep from sharing this toy if the brother doesn't know where he puts the new toy. The mother, in this metaphor, is the mind of God. She, however, only sees the child's behavior or outward expression. She knows what existed in the mind because of seeing the outward expression of the child. She realizes that the child did not learn the lesson of sharing because the child hid the toy, keeping his sibling from the joy that they both could share with that toy. At this point, she corrects the child. Does she then stop teaching the child how to share? Absolutely not. She continues giving him or her, you and me, the opportunity to learn to share. When she sees the child sharing with his siblings, she understands that the child's mind has learned compassion and love, and to choose deductively in his or her brain the difference between compassion and selfishness or egocentricity. She waits for this to happen in her child and in her children, perhaps for a lifetime, because she wants her child to understand the same law of love that released her soul to the freedom of peace. So I am that child, judging each of my thoughts and ridding my brain of that which no longer has efficacy in my world. If I can keep all of the good thoughts and get rid of that which no longer serves me, I can find peace, pure and simple. I can then plant these good thoughts in the subjective, creative earth of God mind, growing these good thoughts into the reality of my life, because they have the creative and decisive power of mind, which God had given me intrinsically as a child of the Creator. Remember, the brain is the decider. The mind is the creator. We first must decide to do good or think a good thought. Then we nurture that thought, and we can either create with our creative mind, good or negativity. The brain is the decider. The mind is the gift God gave us to create. When I come to this understanding that the last judgment is in my hands, I can finally rid my life of fear. The final question or the final judgment is simple. Which thoughts do I want to keep in my mind? When I can separate the positive ones from the negative ones and rid my mind of the negativity, I can proceed to the final judgment and walk into eternal peace with God, because I then only create good, joy, and the gift of love for the world. When I make this correction in my own mind, I finally abolish fear in my life. So, to reiterate what I learned, God created me in its image, which means that I too am a creator. Where my creation exists is in my deductive brain first, then when my thoughts are birthed, they move from my ego brain into my creative God mind. Our creations in our mind exponentially exist in our outward world as a mirror to show us what we continue to create in our lives. We can easily see if we are creating lack or prosperity, sickness or health, and goodwill or bad will towards others by observing our own lives. So the last judgment has nothing to do with death, judgment, or hell, because none of those attributes exist in Creator God. God exists only in love and light. All of the negativity in the earth realm has only been created in the world and exists in our own minds because of one thing: fear. Fear of dying, fear of hell, fear of sickness, fear of pain, fear of being wrong, fear of no autonomy, fear of no ego. Fear exists as your own lack of good judgment. These fears and the belief in them are actually your final judgment. What thoughts will make you seek to keep, and which ones will you seek to let go of in your own mind? When you can separate your negative thinking from your positive ones, you will finally be on the way of letting go of your fear for good. Your brain is your domain. God's not judging what's in your brain. The revelation for me this morning is that I am to judge what I have created in my own brain. God is waiting for me to wake up to make this judgment for myself, because God can see what manifests in my life. So can I. In the mirror of my world. What manifests in my life is a result of what I have taken from the deductive source of my brain and let grow in the powerful creative source of my mind. When I choose to only create good, it is only then that I can live a life free of fear. When I come to this revelation, I will be free to create my good in the world and ultimately help others create their good. If you believe you are a wanderer on this earth, as I do, this understanding is imperative to waking up from your sleep. If you can get past your own fear, you can finally do what you've been placed on this earth to do. Help the earth and the beings on this earth move out of fear and into the positive expression of God itself. Namaste.